big middle schoolers. So we are finished now with our poetry unit. And I have loved studying poetry and reading the poems that you've written, and I'm excited about our poetry slam coming up. But that's not what this video is about. In this video, we're going to talk about White Fang because you are about to read White Fang. And I wanted to show you how for the next 5 weeks, language arts is going to look a little bit different, okay? You're going to see that you have still folders that are week 1 through 5, and you won't be able to see all of these on yours, but you can probably see a couple weeks at a time. But when you open a folder, you'll have a couple of tasks. The first task is always going to be to read. If I click on read, and I do want you to watch this video because I'm going to share some things that may seem like, oh, I already know that, but you may not. If I click on the word read, then there's a bunch of text that gets together, and that's a little confusing, and I'm sorry, but these words here I wrote to you. So read them carefully. It says, here's the deal, Pickles. We're going to read White Fang by Jack London. I'm super excited about this. This week, you'll read part 1, chapters 1 through 3. White Fang, the actual novel White Fang, is written in 5 parts. Chapter 1, there's a lot of chapter 1s in White Fang. Part 1 has a chapter 1. Part 2 has a chapter 1. So if you're confused on what to read, mostly pay attention to the parts. This is a 5-week unit, and you're reading 1 part every week. It should take you, I've Googled how much time, like the average middle schooler, how fast they read when it's in their head, and how much time it should take. You'll be reading, and it's a big range, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half each week of just reading your book, okay? So that should just give you an idea. But if you scroll down, you see the parts here, and you can just click on part 1, and it's going to take you to part 1. And then you can read part 1, okay? Now, this does tell you at the top that you have another option, which is Epic. If you go to Epic, which you can see on my screen here, there's another version. Now, this is an easier to read version. So it's actually like experts say, like, okay, they take a book and say, this is written for kids that can read about this good in this grade. This book, though, that's on Get Epic is a little simpler and easier to understand. So if you're reading here and you're a little bit confused of what's happening, you can come to Epic, and in your little bookcase, or I'm not sure exactly how yours is laid out, but this has been assigned to you. Okay, now you don't have to read this version of it, but I assigned it just so you could find it easier. This is available to you as well if you want to read. Now, this skips over some important parts. It's not probably as interesting, but if this is what you understand, then this is what you need to read. Okay, and this even has some pictures. So this is an option for you as well. If you're reading from right here, let's see, part 1, and you totally understand what you're reading, you don't need to go to Epic at all. You can just read the book here, okay? So the first thing you're going to do each week is read the section you're supposed to read. Part 1 is 3 chapters, and most of the parts are 5 chapters, so maybe you read a couple chapters, you set it down, then you might want to come and do what's called study. And when you click on study, this is it's Pearson created content that's teaching you a specific lesson. And this particular lesson is on character setting and plot. Okay. Let's go down to week 2 and see what the study is. In week 2, it's setting and plot. So we're going to go in a little bit more detail of setting and plot. But you are going to see here, as you are scrolling through, it's going to ask you to do something. Like right here, it says, find a scene in White Fang in which the wolf dog enters a new setting. In a paragraph, which we know consists of several sentences, describe the setting and explain its effects on White Fang. Use details from the scene to support your ideas. That's like saying be sure to cite your evidence. If you click here, it even gives you a sample answer. That would be a really well-written, good paragraph. So you can look at that for help, okay? The other thing it does is it gives you the words White Fang there. You probably saw that link. Let's see if we can find it again. You can click that, and it's also going to take you right back to the book so that you don't have to hunt around for it, okay? When you are writing the paragraph, we're going to need to do that in Google Docs, because when you come down here to where it says write, this is where you submit to me what you already wrote in the lesson. This is not letting me because it says I have to successfully complete the lesson, setting and plot. So if I go back to that, see if I can get back to that. There we go. I'll have to be on here for the amount of time that Monsieur sets. So if you just click on here and you don't do the lesson, it's not even going to let you submit what you're supposed to submit, which is fine because you won't be able to submit it because you wouldn't have written anything because you haven't done the lesson. So that's why I'm not able to submit this here. But when you get to the right and you've done the lesson, it will allow you then to submit. Each week 2, 3, and 4, you're writing a paragraph and submitting it. You need to pay attention to what you save that on as, because week 5, you've got a portfolio due. In your portfolio, you're going to write a well-written summary of White Fang. And all those paragraphs that you wrote about the plot and the setting, those will go into the summary. So you've already really written it by the time you get here because you've already written the paragraphs. This is just where you copy and paste those paragraphs and combine it, okay? Week 2, 3, and 4, please look at the rubric and see that I'm mostly grading on, did you write in complete sentences? Did you include a paragraph? I'm not really analyzing in a lot of depth. I'm just wanting to make sure you're on track to finish. But week 5, that's when, look at that rubric. That rubric is much more detailed because that's when now you've had these weeks to write, you've finished reading White Fang, you're writing a well-written summary. It's more like an essay. So week 5 is graded differently than weeks 2 through 4. Weeks 2 through 4 are just to kind of help you continue. Okay. Now you may see other things pop up in here, like I'm thinking about including some little quizzes, just to kind of give you some like freebie points. But I'm not exactly sure what all will be added in here, but right now I just wanted to go over with you that information so that you sort of know what's coming and know what you're expected to do. By the way, White Fang is a classic. So it was written around 1900, so the turn of the century. It's a classic book. I bet even Miss Arthur has read that book when she was a kid. Did it exist when you were a kid?
It was a classic when I was a kid.
It was a classic when she was a kid. That's how old it is. So that's why you may see things written in kind of a little different way because people talked different back then. That's why you have epic as an option. So don't forget about that if you're getting confused about what you're reading.